Good day, I am Joanna Rose Abduhan, a third-year BS Criminology student. I chose the case People of the Philippines versus Leo T. Villanueva, GR number 77397. It is a homicide case. This case involves an appeal from Leo T. Villanueva, who was convicted of homicide and the use of unlicensed firearm by the Regional Trial Court in Virac, Catanduanes. These are the facts of the case. On November 11, 1985, in Barangay San Pedro, Municipality of Biga, Catanduanes, a drinking session was underway involving a group of men which included the accused Leo T. Villanueva and the victim Deogracias Tobianosa Jr. The accused, armed with an unlicensed revolver, was allegedly involved in a heated dispute during the session concerning a tribal matter, the giving of chicken, which escalated into violence. It is alleged that at approximately 4:30 p.m. during the altercation, the accused pointed his firearm at the victim and fired, resulting in a gunshot wound inflicted on the victim's head, leading to his instantaneous death. At the trial, the prosecution represented the following witnesses: Roberto Olarte, Dr. Lorito Rojas, Jaime Torricha, Porita Padilla, Priscilla Ichigaral Tobianosa, Pat Wilfredo Vitalesio, and Pat Cecilia De Leon, whose testimonies are substantial. The accused claimed that he had been invited by the victim for a drinking session and that they consumed alcoholic beverage together from the morning until the afternoon. He denied pointing or firing the weapon and asserted that the victim could have accidentally caused the gun to discharge. He explained that his subsequent silence during the police questioning was due to fear and that his leaving the scene was not indicative of guilt. Melia Tulalian Molod and Jeronima Rojas provided accounts intended to discredit or modify key details of the prosecution witnesses' testimonies. They specifically contradicted details established by Roberto Olarte regarding the sequence of events and the presence at the scene. Legal issue. First is the credibility and reliability of witnesses. The issue of this case is whether the trial court erred in accepting the testimony of famed prosecution witnesses, particularly Roberto Olarte, as reliable and not unduly biased. Whether the consistent accounts from multiple witnesses were fairly weighed against the accused denial and the defense testimony. The second is the use of hearsay evidence. Whether the trial court improperly admitted hearsay evidence that may have prejudiced the outcome. Whether such evidence was sufficient to meet the standard of proof required to sustain a conviction. The third one is the reliance on circumstantial evidence. Whether the convict, based on circumstantial evidence, absent direct eyewitness identification of the accused as the one who fired the gun, was legally sound. Whether the chain of circumstantial evidence satisfactorily included all the reasonable hypotheses of innocence. The fourth one is the evaluation of conflicting testimonies. Whether the trial court was justified in giving minimal credence two defense testimony that presented alternative theories. Example is the victim's potential role in an accidental gun discharge or suicide, and whether the defense witnesses' accounts were properly considered in light of the overall evidentiary matrix. The last one is the determination concerning the unlicensed firearm. Whether the trial court correctly applied the law regarding possession and use of an unlicensed firearm, and whether the lack of a recovered weapon impacted the prosecution burden to prove the use of an unlicensed firearm beyond reasonable doubt. Let's proceed to the court's decision and rationale. The accused was convicted of homicide with an unlicensed firearm, with the trial court imposing the death penalty is commuted to reclusion perpetua and ordering indemnification for death of the victim, which is hereby increased to 50,000 pesos for the victim's ears. The prosecution case relied on testimonies from multiple witnesses who observed the events leading to the victim's death, establishing a timeline and context for the incident and the fact that the gun used in the killing was not recovered and not presented as evidence is of no moment. The corpus delicti having been duly established by the prosecution, the burden of proof to show that the firearm used was licensed rests upon the accused. Appellant's failure to do so constrains this court to sustain the verdict of the trial court that the crime was homicide and was committed with the use of unlicensed firearm. The next is the elements of homicide. So these are the elements of homicide. A person was killed. The accused killed him without any justifying circumstance. The accused had the intention to kill, which is presumed. And fourth is the killing was not attended by any of the qualifying circumstances of murder or by that of parricide or infanticide. First is that Deogracias Tobianosa Jr., which is the victim, was killed, and Leo T. Villanueva killed him without any justifying circumstance and had intention to kill, which is presumed by the use of unlicensed firearm. And lastly is that the killing of Deogracias Tobianosa Jr. was not attended by any of the qualifying circumstance of murder or by that of parricide or infanticide. I conclude that this case highlights the importance of strict control and regulation of firearms in order to prevent violence and protect public safety. The unauthorized possession and the use of firearm can have severe consequences for individuals as well as broader societal impacts, highlighting the need for responsible gun ownership and control measures. The case also serves as a cautionary tale to individuals who may be considering the use of firearms in violent crimes. That concludes my report. Thank you for watching.